opening comments. Mr. Clyburn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wish to thank you, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member Pingree, and Ranking Member DeLauro for your great work on this bill. But I respectfully and regretfully oppose this bill as written. Now, Mr. Chairman, while this bill rejects the President's most damaging budgetary proposals, it includes a cut of more than $176 million to the National Park Service's operational budget, which will force an additional 5,000 park staff cuts, stretching an already thin workforce that was devastated by DOGE. Mr. Chairman, I began my professional career as a history teacher in the Charleston, South Carolina public school system. And I spent my entire congressional career working to preserve our nation's history, both its ugly failures and its beautiful triumphs. Among my most popular legislative accomplishments are the establishments of the South Carolina National Heritage Corridor, the Southern Campaign of the Revolutionary War, and the Gullah Geechee National Heritage Corridor that runs from Wilmington, North Carolina, down to St. Augustine, Florida. This is an interesting corridor. I remember when I first attempted to get it passed, it took me 6 years. They told me that South Carolina was too small a state to have more than one heritage corridor. Of course, we now have 3. Because South Carolina played a very critical role in the Revolutionary War. People remember the Civil War having started there, but for the Battle of Charleston and the campaign around Cowpens, I'm not too sure that the Revolutionary War would have ended the way it did. But national parks, like our heritage corridors, are home to many of our nation's most beloved monuments, historic sites, hallowed grounds, and iconic landscapes. While we just celebrated America's birthday on July 4th, Republicans' gift of gutting our treasures, our parks, and national monuments seemed to be a broader, deliberate campaign to erase history and degrade educational integrity. While there are 63 national parks, 3 of which are in South Carolina, none of which were there before I was elected to Congress, the National Park Service manages 433 sites across more than 85 million acres. The locations amassed over 330 million visitors last year. And according to the National Park Service, their spending in communities around these sites resulted in over $55 billion in benefits to our nation's economy and supported over 400,000 jobs. Now, I might add that these national parks are mostly in rural communities. And but for these national parks, the economy in these communities would not be what they are today. 2 weeks ago, the Republicans passed their big, ugly bill that took away more than $267 million from the National Park Service and the Bureau of Land Management that Congress previously approved. If that isn't enough, this bill cuts an additional $213 million from the National Park Service. The Republican obsession with DEI initiatives is distorting the history included on the National Park Service website and throughout the Park Service. In March, it was reported that the Trump administration efforts to dismantle DEI caused the National Park Service to take down web pages dedicated to LGBT and other civil rights activities. And in a March 27th executive order titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, the Trump administration removed references to Harriet Tubman from the National Park Service webpage about the Underground Railroad before later restoring it. Now, this is happening throughout the Park Service. And I'll tell you, as someone who has studied history all of my life, and I study it daily, there's not a day that goes by but I don't dedicate some time to looking at our nation's history and how it affects what we do today. It is a shame, and I don't want to be personal here, but my youngest daughter serves on our local school board. And I was shocked over this past weekend, as we were celebrating July 4th, and she talked about her frustrations with these attempts to take the history out of the public schools, these attempts to get rid of civics in the public schools. And she said to me, "Daddy, what I know about government, I learned in the 7th and 8th grade and sitting down with your moms. And now we can't teach it to our school children." That, to me, is devastating. And that seems to be what we are continuing to do here. So on May 20th, Secretary Bunker ordered that all national parks and other public lands must post notices encouraging people to report any signs or other information that are negative about either past or living Americans, or that fail to emphasize the beauty, grandeur, and abundance of landscapes and other natural features. Charleston, South Carolina is in my district. I taught school in Charleston, South Carolina. I see the monuments to enslavement. I don't tell my students not to learn what it means. I want them to know what it means. And I want them to really work to help this country continue its trek toward a more perfect union. So I implore my Republican friends to stop the madness and reinvest in our national park system in our classrooms and in we are the stewards of this history. We're the stewards of these classrooms. And Pearl Harbor, where my uncle sat on December 7th, 1941, in the USS Arizona, when it was bombed. He never talked about his life in the Navy. It was not pleasant back in the 1940s. But I don't think we run away from that. I think we do the things that are necessary so that our young people will know we should not ever live that again. We ought to teach about the Japanese internment and recognize that as a site for us to continue to learn from and continue our trek toward a more perfect union. The point of preserving history is to learn from it. Learn that which was good, that which was bad. Do all that we can to accentuate those positives, eliminate those negatives, and continue our trek toward a more perfect union. So, Mr. Chairman, as I said in my opening, I regret that I cannot support this bill. I love history, the good and the bad, and I think we should all work to preserve it, learn from it, and know how to conduct ourselves going forward. And I yield back.
Thank the gentleman for his comments. Are there other members who wish to make an opening statement?